Hello my dear viewers, it is March 28th in our yard and today the following topic is proposed in the next material, namely, events on the fronts and how is this reflected in the financial markets. Mariupol. In the southern part of the city of Mariupol, the remnants of the national battalions and Ukrainian troops managed to be cut into two parts. Now the nationalists are hiding in the territory of the Azovstal plant. The forces of the Donetsk People's Republic continue to sweep and expect to take control of the city in the coming days. About the official representative of the Ministry of Defense, Igor Konashenkov, reported that in the Mariupol region, the Russian army shot down a Ukrainian Mi-8 flying behind the commanders of the nationalist Azov battalion. The Ukrainian helicopter was supposed to urgently take these commanders, who had abandoned their subordinates, out of the combat zone. A Ukrainian Mi-8 helicopter was shot down 5 kilometers from the coastline over the Sea of Azov. This was confirmed by the People's Militia of Donetsk. According to the department, the Kiev regime tried to remove the commander of the 36th Brigade Baranyuk and the commander of Azov, Prokopenko, from the Azovstal plant. Kiev. The Ministry of Defense of the Russian Federation reports that the units of the Russian airborne forces were forced out of the settlement in the suburbs of Kiev. The military personnel of the national battalions and the armed forces of Ukraine. They abandoned tanks, armored personnel carriers, small arms, anti-tank weapons, and their ammunition, as well as German Panzerfaust 3 grenade launchers, Ukrainian Stugna anti-tank missile systems and Aglo-1 manpads. Equipment and weapons are planned to be transferred to the servicemen of the People's Militia of the Donetsk and Lugansk People's Republics. In Sumy, after all, there was an ammonia leak, the risk of which was warned by the Ministry of Defense of the Russian Federation. The fighters of the national battalions mined storages with ammonia and chlorine at the chemical plant in Sumy in advance, in order to poison people in case the Russian military appeared in the city. The incident at the Sumy Chemprom plant was reported by the head of the regional administration of Sumy. Currently, the affected area is about 2.5 kilometers. Elimination of the consequences of the accident is underway on the spot. It is known that the incident does not pose a direct threat to the city of Sumy. The wind is moving in the opposite direction from the city. The village of Novoselika was under threat. And now, against the backdrop of hostilities on the fronts, the economic situation and the situation in the financial markets also cannot be called calm and cloudless. It has been reported more than once that energy prices in Europe and the United States have increased significantly. The prices at gas stations do not please anyone. In Europe, citizens sweep food at supermarkets. Often you can see empty shelves in stores. This situation arose precisely when, in connection with the start on February 24 of the Russian special military operation to demilitarize and denazify Ukraine, the countries of Europe and the United States imposed unprecedented economic sanctions on the Russian Federation. In the early days, the value of the ruble fell sharply. It was over 120 rubles per $1. Some companies have announced their withdrawal from the Russian market. Russia's gold and foreign exchange reserves in the amount of about $300 billion, which is about half of Russia's total GDP, were frozen in US and European banks. But despite this, after a while, the Russian currency began to win back losses. President Putin said that the United States and the European Union, by freezing its foreign exchange reserves, actually declared a default on obligations to Russia. Moscow, in turn, announced the transfer of payments to rubles in payments for gas supplied to unfriendly countries. These countries include the G7 countries, Canada, France, Germany, Italy, Japan, the United Kingdom, and the United States. Agencies reported that the G7 countries refused to pay Russia for energy resources in rubles. The G7 countries do not agree to Russia's demand to pay for energy resources in rubles, said German Economy Minister Robert Habeck. All G7 ministers were unanimous that this is a unilateral breach of contracts. They stress that the agreements concluded are valid. The enterprises involved in them will remain faithful to them. This means that payment in rubles is unacceptable, and the affected enterprises are urged not to follow these requirements. Quebec saw this as an attempt to split the Western countries, and added that there was solidity and determination among them to prevent a split. Commenting on the German minister's statement, Ivan Abramov, deputy chairman of the Federation Council Committee on Economic Policy, noted that the refusal will definitely lead to a cessation of gas supplies. If our condition is to pay in rubles, then it means that we must pay in rubles. They have enough opportunities to buy rubles for this. On any exchange you can do it instantly, the senator said. In March, Russian President Vladimir Putin instructed the central bank, Gazprom, and the government to organize the transfer of payments for gas from unfriendly countries into rubles. The first report on the execution of the order in the Kremlin is expected by March 31st. According to Putin, Russia will continue to supply gas under existing contracts, as it values its reputation. Against this background, the ruble continued to strengthen against the dollar and the euro at the beginning of trading on Monday, according to the Moscow exchange. Earlier, the euro fell to the maximum to 97.5 rubles. Dollar up to 92.51 rubles. From this is what I wanted to bring to your attention in this issue. In the next issues, it is also planned to cover events on the fronts of the military, informational and economic struggle. Not only on the field of Ukraine, but also on the field of Europe and the United States of America. That's all for now. Goodbye.